What's up everyone, it's Karthik with MoneyVest. Welcome on board for our Market Open live stream. Today is the day, Wednesday, August 28th. We've got Nvidia earnings coming out after the markets close. So in just about a few hours, 6 to 8 hours, 8 hours here, we're going to find out exactly what numbers Nvidia reports and of course how the stock reacts to those numbers. Nvidia pre-market right now up a little bit over 24 basis points with S&P 500 also basically flat, and we got the Nasdaq also very flat. So if you guys can see me and hear me, just give me a thumbs up. I just want to make sure the audio and the video is working well, and we are all set. Good morning everyone. Once again, thank you so much for joining. Do me a favor, share this live stream in other groups, your friends and family and your other traders, investor friends that can benefit from this. And I'll be live right now for the next hour, and then I'll be live again during market close to take a look at Nvidia's numbers with all of you live, and then we'll take a look at how the post earnings reaction is going to be, and then of course my trade on Nvidia and SOXL as well. It's got lots to discuss. I hope you all are doing great, and volatility right now is just a little bit over 15.7, so just up close to 2%, but again continues to be very muted, back down to its lower levels. And again, from a very low percentile basis, we are now in the 35th percentile, trading at just over 15 for the volatility as well. And this entire broadening of this market has resulted in majority of stocks, of course, pushing higher, trading above their 50 SMA, 200 SMA, 20 SMA, all of those pushing higher. So Nolan says, nice silver ring, caddy. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Made it all by myself from scratch. It was honestly one of the best experiences I've ever had, really, in my life, because it was so detailed, the amazing environment, the atmosphere, doing everything from scratch, quite literally from melting silver materials, right? So other pieces of silver, and then mixing copper, and then flattening it to a strip of silver, and then bending it to make a ring. And then, of course, polishing it, cutting it, grading it, all that was absolutely incredible, the overall experience, and making a design on it. So it was just fantastic. And tomorrow I plan to go up to Kazbeki. It's a very cool place, but it's also bordering Russia. So just gotta be super careful with this entire trip because of what I've been hearing, that's been going on. I think even today, I think the Hamas group attacked Israel with, I think, the M90 missiles. So just got to be very careful. I mean, of course, in this part of the world, there's a lot going on, of course. Anyway, good morning, everyone. So thank you so much for joining. Again, we've got the big Nvidia earnings later today. This right here are the expectations. So in the last 8 quarters, so this is going back as far as 2022, so 2 years worth of analysis, 75% probability the stock price goes up by an average 8% to as much as median almost 6.5%, 7%. But again, historical performance is not indicative of future performance. So just because it's happened in the past does not mean it's going to happen again. And this right here, the last couple times we've seen the Nvidia stock go up by an average of almost 13%, so 9.3% last earnings, and the earnings before that a little bit over 16.4%. Yes, Milan, it's an interesting trip. Have fun and be safe. Yes, safety I think definitely is number one priority. Just got to be very careful here because Georgia is bordering Russia to the north. So I was also looking at one of the maps which was showing the nuclear plants or the reactors in Russia, and which ones are under construction, which ones are live under operation, because I think there's also risk to a nuclear reactor which is bordering Ukraine. Just a lot of stuff happening, in this part of the world. You've got geopolitical tensions in the north between Russia and Ukraine. You've got geopolitical tensions in the south between Iran and Israel, and UAE is kind of like even more to the south. You've got the Arabian Gulf in the middle. So it is just so it's a lot of complications if you're planning to visit like this part of the world, because we do have Armenia, we got Georgia, we got Azerbaijan. Those are all fantastic places. I was actually planning to go to Istanbul as well, Turkey, but I'm gonna have to wait until the next trip. I'll maybe do that in October or something. So Ross Marshall, you're in Tbilisi at the exchange. I've been there. That's great. That's awesome. And good morning. Thank you. Would like to visit Tbilisi. Is it nice? It's amazing. It's absolutely fantastic. I love the vibe here. Nice weather. And again, people are super nice. And so far, it's been an amazing trip. And I plan to explore more over the next 2 to 3 days. And then, of course, fly back next week. Anyway, so coming back over to the markets, QQQs are flat, SPY's flat. Tesla is, I believe, slightly down, a little bit over 20 basis points, and Nvidia is slightly higher, about 20 basis points right now. So we got quite an interesting day lined up here for the market because there is massive divergence between the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. So definitely do check out the video that I posted just a few hours ago, because it's going to give you a little bit of an insight into the divergence that we're seeing. And every time we've actually seen that divergence from the market, that has led to a little bit of underperformance from the entire market. In other words, we have seen S&P 500 roll over, and that's also marked a bit of a top for the markets as well. So yeah, I'm actually planning on doing a video. I asked everybody in the previous video that I just posted if you would like to see a video going over sort of a full analysis and breakdown on the impact to the economy and the market based on who ends up winning the elections, whether it is Trump or Harris. If you'd like to see the different policies put forth from a tax perspective and economic policies, and a comparison of how the markets and the economy could react to those policies. I know it can be a very polarizing debate. That's why I don't want to get into the politics of things, but this video is going to strictly be focusing on the impact on the markets and the economy over the next 4 years, just simply looking at what's been proposed from a tax and an economic policy standpoint from both of these presidential candidates. So let me know if that is something you guys would be interested in. In my previous video, people said, yes, please do a comparison, but then some were like, don't do it, don't dive into it. It's a very polarizing topic. I understand it is. Obviously politics always is a conversation which can get very polarizing, but I think it'll benefit and give us a bit of a sense of how the markets or the economy may react to different policies, because we already know that Trump has been very much vocal on removing federal taxes altogether and introducing tariff-based system where they're whatever the United States imports from the rest of the world, there's going to be significant tariffs, and that's what's going to fund the government operations. But there's definitely a lot of pros and cons to that policy, because for one, it is not going to be enough to cover all the federal income taxes that the U.S. collects on a personal basis. So they need a much wider base in order to even compensate what's going to be gone after the federal personal income, if that were to disappear. But then of course we got Harris somewhat proposing unrealized gains taxes, which again have their own implications. So yeah, I mean, we can do a video and stay away from politics and then strictly focus on the economy and the markets. If that is something you guys are interested in, let me know in the comments, and do comment in the previous video. I'll go over those comments here to see if it's worthwhile doing a full analysis on that. So Ross Marshall says, I've lived in Istanbul for 25 years. Make sure you go to the Museum of Modern Art on the Bosporus and have lunch on the terrace. The cruise ship's dock right near there. Spectacular. Awesome. I'll definitely take in your suggestions and we'll check out those places. And if people are indeed in Turkey, we can do a meetup in Istanbul as well. There's apparently nobody here in Georgia. I've tried to get at least a few people. If there were any people here in Georgia, of course they would have mentioned it by now, but apparently we don't have anybody. So I think we have to change that. Gonna have to make new friends here and get people to subscribe to the channel so we can at least have a representing subscriber of MoneyVest in Tbilisi in Georgia. So that's gonna be the goal for the next few days here, is to get someone to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, so coming back over to the markets, Nvidia just a little bit over $128. A lot of comments from yesterday's market update video where I asked you guys to make a prediction on where Nvidia is going to be post earnings, and everybody seems to be very bullish. And we know what happens when everyone is bullish, right? We know what happens when everyone is thinking the same thing. markets tend to do the exact opposite sometimes. So a lot of consolidation for Nvidia in that range. It's just been moving sideways in anticipation of these earnings. And if we do end up, let's say, breaking down, the implied move anyway is about 10 to 12%. So, my strike put strikes are $108 to $105. So that still gives us a good margin of safety for Nvidia of closer to 15.7%, a little bit closer to 16%. And this is where we are. The Money Vest Index is 3.97. Volatility we've already gone over. Put call ratio just a little bit under 1. 31% max 7 concentration. 88% of stocks trading above their 20 simple moving average. And we've got almost a 23 times earnings multiple. So, this is a little bit more of an unfavorable risk-reward paradigm at the moment. Come to Switzerland too. I run an Airbnb here, Lippy. That's great. I've actually been to Switzerland. I love Lucerne. I love Zurich, of course. I love Bern. I mean, those are some amazing places, and I really enjoyed my time there. I was there, a couple years ago. I really want to spend more time in Switzerland because I just love the nature, love the whole vibe, the European vibe, and it's amazing. I also want to explore a little bit more Italy, Lake Como and those areas, because I was there for just one day. I was only able to visit Milan, but yeah, I want to definitely explore more Europe in the future for sure. Yeah, City says Switzerland is amazing. We just visited. Where's your Airbnb? Maybe we'll stay there next time we visit. Yeah, definitely do share the links. If you're in our Discord, share where the Airbnb is. We'll love to check it out when all of our members are in that area. Where are you in Istanbul? Please do a meetup. Yes, if we plan a trip there, we'll definitely do a meetup. I think it's really time for us to do a European meetup now. I think over the last couple of years, we've done a meetup in California, in New York. This year, we're planning one in Florida for later this year. So, but then we should focus on, some place in Europe. We should decide. We actually did one in London, but that wasn't like a big meetup. We did one in London when I was there a couple times. And, but yeah, we should do something like Central Europe, like where everybody can come join us. Okay, if Nvidia misses, I wonder if that will start the recession. So, I mean, the chances of Nvidia missing expectations on these earnings are slim. It's not like it's impossible, but they are slim. Low chances that Nvidia misses on expectations. I mean, just take a look at their track record. I mean, they've beaten expectations on revenue pretty much every single time. 100% probability that they beat on revenue. EPS, the only miss in the last 8 quarters we saw was back in October. And that was an 18% miss, but an 87.5% probability that they beat expectations by over 10%. So every time they've come out with the EPS numbers, they've come out with some very strong, out of the water, kind of blowing these numbers out. So that was very, very strong. So probability is high. So missing, I don't think so, but it really is going to be dependent on the guidance. I think the stock price is going to be reliant on where the guidance is. And if it's strong or not so strong, I think that's really what's going to dictate where Nvidia ends up going after hours. This is sweetest stock channel on YouTube. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We're in Florida. Come to Atlanta too. Where's the love for Asia? So yeah, we definitely need to do one in Asia. We can do one in India. But we just don't have a lot of people in Asia. I mean, most of our audience is in the US and Canada. Then we've got the UK. We got Singapore actually is up there. And Europe, right? So a lot of it is in Europe as well. Do you also invest in penny stocks? So no, we actually don't invest I don't. I'm sure other members do that, but I don't. And SMCI down 9% on 10K filing delay. Wow, double hit in a row for SMCI. Just really struggling here, down almost 10% on the delay from annual filing. So I don't know why the news section is not loading for TradingView these days. For some of it is loading, some of it's not. Declined by 2.5% pre-market after closing bell. Let's see if you can find it. Yeah, this particular catalyst just fails to load up. I think it's something to do with their more recent news. It's just not able to load up. So we're in Florida, Sadi. We haven't decided yet. We're going to be planning something very soon, hopefully in the next few months here. And of course, we'll keep everyone updated if you guys want to join. Fong Mike says, it's unbelievable that one stock like Nvidia can move the market in billions of dollars. Don't people understand the cost of increasing productivity by AI is job loss? Is AI worth the investment? So that's a great point. And look, there's pros and cons for artificial intelligence. And there was a very interesting study. Like I said, I took the time to read through a lot of the magazines that were there in the plane, and a few of them that I really want to share with you is it was all about robotics and how it is going to act both as a pro and a con to the economy. Ooh, there it is. Found it. So let me see if I can bring this up. There we go. So I'm just going to bring this up here and I'm going to open it up so that we can read it. There we go. So this was something that I was reading in the plane. It's a good question, right? Whether AI is even worth the investment. So this was during my flight from Bloomberg. The future belongs to American companies, not necessarily to Americans. And it's such an interesting headline because that's, to some extent, that is true. And I've mentioned this in my videos in the past when artificial intelligence was quite literally getting started, that we could be living in an environment, we could be living in a new economy where both economic growth is strong and unemployment is high. Because up until now, and that's one of the reasons why I strongly also believe that the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes or cuts are going to become less and less effective moving forward in controlling unemployment. Maybe not so much on inflation, but controlling unemployment, because the companies, their cost of capital going up or down is going to be affected to some extent, but not at the same level as what it used to after the introduction of artificial intelligence, because AI in itself is getting more efficient, technologically advanced, and over time it's going to get cheaper as well. So companies are going to still implement this technology at a lower cost, and so raising interest rates may not affect them as much, and their hiring and firing processes will remain the same. So in my opinion, I think we could live in a world where productivity is high and unemployment is higher, because a lot of the jobs are, of course, getting replaced by artificial intelligence. So over here we read, hopefully this is the correct article that I was referring to. So, is there a better gauge of nation's strength than the vitality of its businesses? Thriving enterprises are a source of wealth, power, and drivers of job creation. Right? Very, very important words there. Foundries for new technologies, and a sign that the institutions of education, finance, law, and politics are working as they should. And in 2023, American companies claimed 32 of the top spots in ranking of the 50 largest publicly traded firms by market cap. That's the highest number in data going back as far as 1995. Their dominance is even more stark when you consider that by market value, made in the USA firms accounted for 74% of the total, and made in China companies, America's nearest rival of global supremacy, took only 3%. So that is, again, quite an insane number. And why the divergence? Part of its strength at home, an unrivaled innovation ecosystem, deep and liquid capital markets, a nation of immigrants, work ethic, and pro-business taxes and regulations continue to produce winners. Nvidia is what they mentioned here. Moving forward, so they mentioned that, where is it? It's right here. Nvidia Corporation, whose chips are powering the artificial intelligence revolution, is the latest example. Weakness abroad is also part of the picture. So that was that. But if the world is entering a period of struggle between democracy and dictatorship, free markets and state control, having the most powerful business is both a substantial source of strength for Team USA and a powerful symbol of the virtues of the democratic free market system. With 58% of Americans owning stocks, the financial gains touch a broad swath of society. There was one more thing. So robots also rising, right? So this is just the giving you a bit of a sense of how much of an increase we've seen in both tech hardware and tech software services versus all the other. Back in 2015, so anything prior to 2015, you'll notice that the blue and the yellow was actually really, really low, right? So it was really low and all other services were much higher. And now you take a look. I mean, this blue and yellow has just exploded in terms of its market value, with more and more companies having much wider moats. There's a few more really, really interesting anecdotes that I wanted to share, but I'm not able to find those screenshots. But when I do, I'll definitely go over that. So the bottom line is, I think artificial intelligence in general can be a very, very positive thing, as long as it's contained and utilized efficiently. But at the same time, I feel like people in general need to upgrade their skills in order to use artificial intelligence as something that complements them and not substitutes them. I've been using AI for a very long time now, and it's increased my productivity, if I'm just being very modest here, by at least 2 times, if not more. It's helped me with a lot of financial modeling. It helps me with calculation. It helps me develop our own website. So, the website that we have right now, themoneyvest.com, I have to filter through a lot of data, build new models, work with code with our developers. So it kind of helps us really, really get things done much faster. So that's one example of how we can use the power of AI in our own work, and use it to complement our own expertise instead of just like a flat line substitute to what we actually do. So I think it's really, again, it comes down to just utilizing it well. So Fong Mai, you can download the Discord app on the phone, and alerts and services, everything is going to be offered on Discord. So you will receive notifications live on your phone. You can see that every time I post something, and then of course you'll have access to the website as well. Let's do a quick analysis on Nvidia, shall we? This is a brand new model that we've built, case analysis. And in case analysis, you've got the bear case, base case, and bull case for Nvidia. Let's do an analysis together, and I wanna hear from every single person. I wanna hear from all of you what your expectations are for the bear case, base case, and bull case for Nvidia. So we're gonna analyze for 5 years. We're gonna use net income. So we're gonna analyze for bottom line profit and net income for the company over the next 5 years. So just to give you a little bit of a perspective here, Nvidia's earnings margin, basically net income margin, for 2024 was 48.85%, right? Insane margin there. And then if you come over to fundamental analysis and do the last 8 quarters, for example, we plot revenues and then we plot net income also on this platform. You'll notice that it's only been accelerating higher. So in the June quarter, we had, I'm going to do some very quick calculations here, 6.1 divided by 13.5. That's a 45% margin. Then we had 9.2 divided by 18.1, and that is a 50% margin. So that's pretty much 50% profit of their revenue. This is the quarter ending in January. 12.2 divided by the revenue of 22.1. Oh my God. Now we're looking at 55% net margins. And then the last quarter they reported, not the quarter they're about to report, but the last quarter they reported $14.8 billion in profit, or net income divided by 26 billion, 57%. 57. So it's gone from 40 to 45 to 55 to 57% in bottom line profit margin. This is absurd. Not only have they been able to grow year over year by triple digits, they're expanding their margins like there's no tomorrow. That's crazy pricing power. But we have to be realistic. And so what we have here in our new model that we will deploy very soon, and then everybody can access, we're gonna assume for net margins what the net margins are gonna look like for the company. We're gonna assume for the growth rate, And again, just to give you a little bit of perspective, if you come over to the MoneyVest metrics and let's look at the last, say, 5 years, come down to the bottom line, net income has grown by 48%, as you can see here. This is the growth in net income, 48% for the company. Last 7 years, it has grown by over 50%. So last 5 to 7 years, we're looking at 48 to 50% growth. If you come over to fundamental analysis and analyst estimates, so what is the next 5 years worth of growth expected from Nvidia? We're looking at 37%, so 37 to 40%. So let's do an analysis together. And before we get there, I also want to break down the valuation for the company. So as you'll notice, the forward price earnings multiple on a 5-year average basis has been 28.7, currently trading at 47, so a little bit under 50 on a price earnings basis. So let's just come back and I'm going to ask all of you, okay? We're going to do this together. So what I want is for us to put down a bear case, base case, and bull case assumption for both margins, growth rates, and multiples. That's what we're going to do. Margins, growth rates, and multiples. And then we're going to see where the fair value ends up for Nvidia compared to the actual market price. So what should I put down for the bear case? Bear case meaning that, okay, worst case scenario, margins drop down and stabilize to this level for Nvidia in the next 5 years. And I remember that right now we're sitting at 55% margins as of the most recent quarter, 57%, and it's been accelerating every quarter. It went from 45 to 47, no, 40 to 45, then 55 to 57 over the last 4 quarters for its net margin. So where do you think, worst case scenario, net margins sit down for Nvidia? We got to do this exercise quick. Market's going to open in 7 minutes, so let's just do it together. Milan says delete the base case and bear case, do a bull case and rocket case. Okay, so a lot of people are saying 25 to 30%. Really? You guys expect the margins to drop that much? Wow, 30%. 30% margins, huh? That's interesting. Brian saying 47. So give me your bear case, base case, bull case. Give me your bear, base, bull. Like type in 3 numbers where you think bear, base, and bull for Nvidia's net margins. Because look, the profits have exploded for the company, margins have exploded because Nvidia's got significant pricing power, significant advantage. You know, it's got the first mover advantage as well. So it's got all of it going for it. But we also have to acknowledge that other companies are going to want a piece of this profit. Nvidia is not going to be the only one, you know, in the next 5 years. There's going to be competition. So margins will stabilize. They will start to come down. So give me your bear, base, and bull case margins for Nvidia for profitability. Type in all 3 if you can. Okay, so we got 25, 40, 55. We got 30, 40, 50. That's a good number. 47, 40, 30. 40, 48, and 60 from Mike. That's good. That's interesting. I like the simplicity of 40, 50, 60 or the 30, 40, 50. So let's go to a medium ground here. Let's go 35, 45, and 55. So we'll do that. But 55 is still going to be lower than where it's trading right now. So a bull case, let's say that they're able to expand more. So we can do 40, 50, 60. How about that? We'll do 40, 50, 60, okay? For the numbers here. Now give me the growth rates. Give me the growth rates. What are going to be the growth rates for the next 5 years for Nvidia in terms of how much can it grow its earnings? Last 5 years, 48%. Last 7 years, 50%. And the next 5 years, according to analysts, it's 38%. So give me your bear, base, and bull case expectations for growth, profitability, bottom line profitability. What is that looking like for you? What is that looking like for all of you? You'll be surprised to see some of the numbers here because Nvidia does trade at an expensive valuation, believe it or not. It actually does trade at a valuation which is a little bit high at over $3 trillion. On a price to sales, this actually trades at much higher valuation than anything else. We got 20, 30, 35, 35, 45, 60, 30, 40, 70. 70% growth is going to be crazy for Nvidia. We got 10, 20, 30. That's actually way more conservative, but that's good. I like that one. 25, 35, 45, 25, 30, 40. So we're all kind of like in the 20, 30, 40 range. So let me just put 20, 30, 40. So we'll do that. 40, 50, 60, and then this 20, 30, 40. And then multiple wise, as we already know that, these are the historical multiples for the company, right? That's where the multiples have been at 120, 123, and then 127. So we'll have to bring these multiples down. These are just ridiculous multiples in my opinion. So if you go over to 30, 40, and 50, right? So based on this analysis, okay, so what we have done here is a very simple bear case, base case, bull case, expecting the margins to be 40, 50, 60%, growth rates of 20, 30, 40, and multiples 30, 40, 50, okay? Shares outstanding, in bear case, they dilute by 2%. In base case, they don't dilute by at all, anything. And the bull case, they actually buy back by 2%. Discount rate, I'm putting 14% and then 12 and 12. Margin of safety, I'm going to put 15, 10, and 5 for Nvidia. And then if you scroll down, this is where the fair value ends up for Nvidia. So $29 on the bear case, $94 on the base case, which is only 26% lower than where it's trading at the moment. In fact, if anything, it was trading down to $90 just a few weeks ago, and then $238 based on a assumption that they're going to be achieving a 60% margin, a 40% growth over the next 5 years, and trade at a 50 times multiple, buying back shares of 2%, and a 12% discount rate. But that is probably one of the most optimistic assumptions, with a future price target of well over $443 in the next 5 years for the company. So we're going to be talking about well over $6 trillion market cap for the business, and that is going to be a total return of well over 245% from its current levels. But that is going to be just an insane evaluation. Base case, we come to a price target of closer to $184. So $184 right now, the all-time high is $140. So that's going to be a total return of 95% from the fair value and 43% from its current market price. And that's still a pretty significant increase in the overall market cap. I think that's going to be adding closer to $1.2 trillion in market cap if Nvidia is able to achieve a 50% margin or maintain 50% margin, grow by 30% over the next 5 years, and trade at a 40 times P multiple. So that puts us a price target of 184 for Nvidia. But that's the whole idea. You can obviously come here and do that analysis for yourself. Bull case is too high. I definitely agree. I think that's a much very, very high in terms of expectation. So you can do that for yourself. Bear case, base case, bull case. You can also calculate the net liquidation values for different businesses. You can also use the discounted cash flow model, free cash flow model, or discounted earnings. Or like I said, you can use this to figure out, okay, this is just a little bit of a extension to what we already show for the matrix or the sensitivity grid. So for example, if you come down here, you'll notice that this right here shows you only the different variables based on multiples and growth rates. But with the case analysis, you can also play around with other numbers such as the shares outstanding, the discount rate, the margin of safety, the margins as well. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility. What do you want to analyze for how many years, and then what is going to be your expectations for these numbers, and they will update automatically to give you a bit of a sense of the price target and the fair value and all that stuff, and the returns. Okay. Yeah, 80% of the revenues comes from data centers. True. And they already have seen a pretty significant market for themselves, right? Multiple $1 trillion is the market size. Kenny, do you have some second thoughts about your Nvidia trades? This is my impression when listening to your recent videos recently. Well, the thing is that if Nvidia drops by 15%, then of course I would be in the money on that position. And then what I'll do is if I do get assigned shares, I will be looking to sell calls immediately. And those are going to be a little bit close to the money calls, which are going to allow me to generate some nice income again. But I'll update everybody on Friday. Of course, I'll be live today after the market's closed to take a look at Nvidia's earnings. And then I'll update everybody on Friday. The best case scenario, and the way I see it, is that Nvidia pops after the numbers are released. Tomorrow, towards market close, Nvidia, sees that continuation, and those puts are, out of the money, 90%, 95%. I can buy to close, and then on Friday we can start a fresh trade, and I'll update everybody on Patreon and update everybody with the options portfolio. Worst case scenario, Nvidia drops 20% after the earnings. $600 billion disappears from the market cap. I am in the money. I'm obligated to buy 600-700 shares of Nvidia, and then for the next week I sell calls on that Nvidia position with a reasonable strike that's a little bit out of the money. So that leaves us room for capital gain and also the premium that we collect. We collect the premium regardless whether the option expires in the money or out of the money, so that's good. But yeah, depending on what happens tonight, in other words, tonight for me, afternoon for you guys in the US, we'll kind of plan accordingly. Yes, we're going to be doing a live earnings call for Nvidia, so we'll do that. At what price you start buying Nvidia? Low 90s is where I started buying. I've owned it in the past, but this has been a recent repurchase. Okay, Tesla back over $211, up over 1%. Markets are open. We got Nvidia essentially flat ahead of its big day. Most of the Magnificent 7 companies are green, which is good to see. QQQs are back over 476. S&P 500 is also very, very flat at the moment, and we've got a big area of consolidation for S&P 500. At Nvidia can really save us from this divergence and underperformance in tech. We've been seeing a lot of underperformance in technology for quite some time. Started in July, towards the beginning of July, and it's been going on for quite some time, like almost over a month now, that this underperformance has continued from technology. SMCI getting destroyed. We can take a look at that as well. Just joined your Discord. Let's make some money. You're amazingly detail oriented. Thank you so much, Fong Mike. I really appreciate it. By the way, I think there's only a couple more spots left. If anybody wants to secure their spot until the end of this month, there is a 16% annual discount that's also available. So I've pinned the link in the chat, and there's also in the description. So feel free to check it out, and we'd love to have you on board. Super Micro, 472. Absolutely getting crushed here. And this is a company that we can also look at for put premiums that might actually be very, very strong for next week. So if I do some very simple breakdown on SMCI puts here for the following week, because it really is finding a good quality stock, a good name that is going to give us some nice yield on a week over week or month over month basis. SMCI puts right now for the next week expiring on September 6th. Wow. Folks, puts on SMCI, the actual premiums are very, very good right now. They're up like, some of them are up like 700-800% today, 900%. That's how high the premiums are. 330 puts selling for $3.10. So 326. That is a gain of almost 1% week over week with a really, really low delta. 330. Oh man, I just so want Nvidia to rip higher so I can free up that collateral and then sell puts on SMCI. Yeah. Put premiums on SMCI are very, very juicy right now. No kidding. It's like 1% with such a low delta. I mean, $330 is like, how far away is that in terms of its price? And it's also surprisingly very close to my fair value that I've posted in my 37 stocks and ETF shopping list. 27% away in 1 week. How many people here think that SMCI is going to go down 27% next week? 27%. Is it possible? It's possible. How probable is that? I mean, it's down 25% this week, so there's nothing stopping it to go down another 26% next week. But that would be an insanely low price. But of course, we got to take a look at the Hindenburg research report as well, and how much weight does it have on the overall company. Because if you're selling a put, you want to be comfortable buying that stock over the long term. That's why I sold puts on Nvidia, because even if I do get assigned, I'm okay buying Nvidia at those prices. But super micro, yes, premiums are good, but we can't be greedy. We have to take a look at the Hindenburg report. Has anybody taken a look at it? All I really saw so far was that they have, been skirting the gap principles, and they've been not accounting their revenues appropriately. And, the company's executives have been telling their employees to maximize revenues at all cost. And like, those were the claims, but I haven't dug deep into the overall report. So if anybody has more insight, please do share. But I'll spend some time on Friday to read it and figure out, okay, if it's worth selling puts on SMCI, because put premiums are insane. 900%, 800% on the day. Like, for example, what was trading at 20 cents yesterday is now trading at over $2. What was trading at 30 cents yesterday is now up over $3 a share. So put buyers obviously made a killing in just one day. But that's also good for us if you're selling puts, because that's why the premiums are also very, very high with really low deltas. Like I said, I sold Nvidia puts last week. The delta was like around 0.15. Just to give you a bit of a context, 330 puts are 450 now. Wow. This is, and I don't even think I have all the, the lowest I can go down to is $330. But that is crazy. And the delta is like 0.07. It is really low probability now. 460 minus 330. 325. 1.4% in 1 week for SMCI puts. Yeah, anything is possible. 50%. So Fong Mike, yes, I do, but a lot of that content is like the course content that you'll see on Patreon. We have a Money Vest education tier where you get access to over 170 plus videos, and that will give you access to the fundamental analysis course, technical analysis course, options trading, and psychology of investing. So all that is available under Money Vest education, which is a tier dedicated for students who want to learn and upgrade their knowledge on these topics. Yes, we understand their filing is delayed, so they have not filed with the SEC for their 10K, and that's why they are selling off quite aggressively here. But that is insane, 19% drop. So basically the market's just pricing in for the worst. That's what it is. I mean, if they haven't released their 10K filing or annual report, that simply means that they are pricing in for the worst case possible. So QQQ is down 25 basis points. S&P is flat. We got Tesla here down over 1% now, giving back on all the gains. Nvidia is slightly lower. AMD is down 1.7%. So it's going to be, again, quite interesting, folks. Nvidia, it all comes down to you. It all comes down to Jensen Huang to see if it has the potential to lift the markets back higher, lift the spirits, because there is divergence, unfortunately, in technology. And that's what's been struggling over the last well over a month. Okay, everyone. So thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. And I'll post some more updates over the course of next few hours. And I'll be live to cover Nvidia earnings. And we'll take a look at them together. Take a look at the market's reaction. And then listen to Jensen Huang and the team at Nvidia together. And see how the stock reacts after hours as well. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. Really appreciate you all. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Links to our Patreon is going to be down below if you want to join our Discord. 16% annual discount available until the end of this month. Please do let me know if you have any questions, and we'll definitely, get back to you. Our only goal at the community is to help you in your investing and trading journey. So we're all here to support you in your